Welcome back to Restauranttopia. I'm here with my esteemed colleague, friend, and cohort, Brian Seitz. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing fantastic, man. We're going to be talking about, in the morning, we're going to be talking about Beyond the Buzz, okay? Embracing non-alcoholic beverage movement in your restaurants.
Oh, I like what you did there. I see what you did there. So the buzz would have been when you get inebriated from drinking excessive amounts of alcohol?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Beyond the buzz. Before the buzz. Without the buzz.
So completely non-alcoholic, no fentanyl, THC, nothing in this drink.
No, not necessarily. So I'm going to talk about specifically non-alcoholic beverages because I think there's some opportunities and some other things that have come out recently, researched or not. And some people are more apt to take risks on things than others. But there's some other options out there if you are trying to either avoid alcohol, step back in your alcohol consumption, or you just don't drink.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think all of these, can be marketed to effectively. And I think that there's a lot of better choices and better things out there than there used to be.
Well,
O'Doul's used to be the only option.
And I see, even in my own life, a big movement kind of away from a lot of consumption of alcohol.
Sure. You're not the only one. It's a thing.
Yeah. But anything that heightens my awareness, whether that be caffeine, coffee, things that, nootropics or what have you. I know that's not this isn't like Dave Asprey, like bulletproof coffee type episode, but those things are interesting to me that are completely the opposite of alcohol.
Yeah. And I think that it's so strange that there's all kinds of things you could say you don't do. I don't smoke. You could even say I don't work out. I don't there's all kinds of things you don't do. But when first thing when you say I don't drink, I'm not drinking tonight, and you're around people that consume alcohol, it's like the weirdest thing. And I know there's been comedy sketches and stuff. This isn't anything new, but when you're abstaining from alcohol, it's like you're weird a little bit.
No.
What's wrong with you? Do you have a problem?
So I this is my own life choice. I never drink and drive. I don't have a drink and then drive. Again, that's not impairment. Depends what state you're in. 0.08. This isn't legal advice.
This is not a lifestyle podcast. So
nor an intervention. I just think that's not something I typically do. And when I'm at a meeting and people are having drinks, I typically will not have a drink.
Yeah.
And it is sometimes weird.
Yeah.
There's that kind of that banter, and it's typically true. I tell them hey, I got to work tonight.
Right.
And I don't want any thing interrupting at all my ability to work.
And you figured out ways to kind of curtail that or have a response loaded for it, but not everybody does. You know what I mean? And it can become awkward. And I'm not saying all of a sudden you're forced to drink when you want to take the night off or whatever. The great one is well, I had a banger last night. I got to take tonight off. Everybody's oh, okay, all right, I understand. But I think there's also, when you look at just society in general, there's dry January, right? I know a lot of people for Lent and the Easter, time take drinking off for Lent. Okay. So you got a whole month in January. You got Lent, which is 40 days. And then there's sober October as well. So there's literally 3 times a year that, is 3 months out of the year, a quarter of the year that people are probably focusing on not drinking potentially, So are you giving those options? Are you marketing to that? Are you, taking the advantage of potential profit opportunities during those times a year? It's funny when I saw something on social media. It said that Gen Z, is way down in alcohol consumption versus millennials and Gen X and all those different things.
Shocking amount. Yeah.
And so my immediate reaction was well, Gen Z is 15 to 28. So half of the audience shouldn't be drinking anyways because they're below 21. But, so I start justifying in my head. Point. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. They haven't been disappointed by life yet, so they don't need to drink. There's all kinds of things you could go into. But it is something that's happening. It is something that should be available in your restaurant at least. Yeah. But at the least available. But at the most, taking advantage of those opportunities to capture those. Because when you think about if I don't drink, there's 4 or 5 of us going out, and it's a dining experience. We're not going out on a Thursday at 4:00 to grab a bite to eat before we go home. We're out on a Saturday night. We're dining. Yeah. I don't want to drink for whatever reason. I chose not to that night. I don't drink, whatever it is. What am I typically ordering as a non-drinker? Water, maybe iced tea, maybe a Coke or Pepsi product. Okay. But if whatever, let's say I drink, but I'm not drinking in that situation for whatever the reason is. If somebody offered me something that was a mocktail or something that was similar to something maybe that I would order if I was having a drink, I would probably, if it was suggested to me, I would probably take them up on that. You know what I mean?
I think you're onto something here. One of the places I like to have lunch at has this lavender keto lemonade. Green Goat, great place in Cleveland.
I haven't had that actually. Lavender
Green Goat, yeah,
lavender lemonade.
Yeah, lemonade, nice. But it's keto, so it doesn't have a bunch of sugar in it.
I don't even know what that means. What is keto?
No carbs.
No carbs. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, where have you been?
Is that the new Atkins? I don't know. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, that's just what
I
it's
hear
called.
people say keto all the time. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
Do you have Google on your laptop?
I do.
All right. Okay. I think that's where you kind of get the upsell. I don't like mocktail because I think it has a negative connotation.
I would agree with you.
I think if you again, you don't have to put a bunch of medication or vitamins in the drink, but I think there is something there that you can give people that social lubricant or what have you. I don't want to say high or buzz or what have you, but the non-alcoholic sensory increase that makes people maybe have a better experience at the restaurant.
Sure. And also I think when you're sitting there, having a again, mocktail, whatever it is, some sort of non-alcoholic drink, and you're with people that are drinking, it gives you, you're not the outlier. You're not the person that everybody's like, you know what I mean? Like, so now whether that affects you as a person, and there's a lot of people maybe that they don't care what anybody else thinks and they do their thing. But I think there are plenty of people that if they had that something that felt like they were joining the group, it might be a better experience and better social interaction.
And there are drinks out there, and we should really research this and put them in the show notes, that you can upsell that people aren't able to just get at their local CVS. And again, I'm not saying go to your backyard, the back of your restaurant with a 55-gallon drum and mix some sort of cocktail that is,
well, there is an execution part of this, because typically when people think of a mocktail, it's a super sugary, heavy, syrupy kind of thing that, they just made because somebody decided they wanted a margarita with no alcohol. You know what I mean? But if you're actually, putting the strategy behind this, you can have your bar staff and your bartenders put together these drinks that taste amazing without the alcohol.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So why would we even be talking about this? First of all, that's the first thing. So, there
increased ticket average.
Well, yes. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. But
I guess what I want to double down on is this is a thing. You know what I mean? So basically, the stats show that the percentage of adults under 35 who consume alcohol have decreased 10% in the last decade. Okay.
That's a lot.
Gen Zers, drink an average 20% less than millennials, who millennials drank less than Gen X. Okay. Now, again, we can go into all these funny jokes of why that is, but this is a real thing happening. You know what I mean? So, also health and wellness. I think people are, now there's a lot of charlatans and a lot of influencers and people with their opinions on health and what you should do. But at the end of the day, I think health and wellness is a something that's super prominent, that people are thinking about, and they're thinking about the long-term effects of what they're doing now.
People are talking about it, and the cognitive impairment of alcohol is real.
Yep.
And the
long-term effects.
Well, long-term, but even the short-term, and I'm not saying short-term in that evening, but are you able to do an amazing podcast the next day? Effect.
Right.
Are you on the top of your game at work? And we're starting to see in a very competitive society with AI and those sorts of things. I've had attorneys that we've hired that I was not impressed with because their cognitive ability, which is in fact what we hired them for, and I attributed it to being hungover.
Yeah.
I was like,
no, I know.
It's not impressed. And again, we're not talking nickels and dimes here. $750 an hour is a pretty significant fee for you not delivering the A game to somebody.
Right.
And again, we can quantify it however you want, but those are the sorts of things that you have to think about when you're choosing to drink that's what your customer is thinking. And that's what you need to provide a ability for them to spend money or to have a selection.
Correct.
Because the alternative, I think the Gen X kind of alternative is I'm going to have iced tea or water. There's just not a lot of profit in that.
Yeah. And also, you've designated on your menu gluten-free or dairy-free or vegan or whatever it is. But the person that decides they don't drink alcohol, we don't have anything for that person. So it's just another thing to bring to the forefront. And depending on your concept, your location, all those things, it might be more prominent than not, but it's just something you should be thinking about, because there is a increase in non-alcoholic spirits and drinks and things like that going on, even for people in their homes, let alone at your restaurant.
I totally agree.
I bought a bottle of spiritless bourbon. I enjoy bourbon.
Yeah.
I bought a bottle of this thinking like, okay, let me just see what this is about. It was really more of an experiment than it was like any, that I wanted some non-alcoholic bourbon. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like if I took that and made an old fashioned with it, would it have been as horrible?
Okay.
It probably would have held up. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But when I poured it over some rocks, expecting that little burn when it hits your lips and, it just wasn't, it wasn't there. But I think, again, like be cognizant, just like everything else we talk about in this podcast, like, sit in the customer's seat, experience it, make sure it's right.
This is something I want to like kind of note as we go through this episode is train up your wait staff. There are people who don't drink. I know it's going to be a shocker to some people, but like there are people in programs that do not drink. Do not shame them when they order something. I was at a speakeasy. I was the driver. They had a mocktail on the menu. I ordered it. And the lady goes, that's not alcoholic. I'm like,
immediately.
Yeah. And no one in my group would have even noticed.
Right. But she just called you out.
She called me out. I was like, what's with the public shaming?
Yeah.
I can read.
Yeah. It's on the menu for a reason.
Yeah. And it's actually in the non-alcoholic section. So I'm putting two and two together that this one probably has no alcohol in it. Like, if she wasn't like, just so you know, if you're operating heavy machinery tonight, you're good to go because this has no alcohol in it. She was saying, she called me out. And like, I said, oh, all right, just, give me some Everclear in a bucket. Like, I get it. Yeah, this is in fact what I want.
Yeah. Like, she's like, designated driver, everybody.
But not in a good way.
Right.
Like, she wasn't like the at the Browns game when they put you up on the stadium, like, hey, we got a hero of the day.
Right.
Not all heroes wear capes. This guy's the designated driver. I love it.
So again, there's revenue opportunities with this because again, the water, the iced tea, the soda, you can basically, I believe if you do it right, you can get just as much, if not a little less than a normal cocktail. If you're doing it right.
Absolutely.
And you take all the cost of the alcohol out of the equation.
Yeah.
So profitability should be good. Do you need a dedicated menu? Do you need a section on your menu? Do you do, depending on how your cocktail program works, do you have, non-alcoholic drinks of the week or, just to have some variety? Do you have some mainstays and some specials? Like, I think it's just something to think about that if you put some time and energy into it, that this is something viable that you can do. Now, there's also ready to go stuff. You've got what's the non-alcoholic beer that's Athletic, I think is the brand of this non-alcoholic beer that's going around. I have quite a few friends that have given up drinking, and we go out and they have that. You know what I mean?
You made me think of something. This is an interesting point that I've seen in the past, where you have a patron going to have drinks after work with somebody. They meet a friend, and they get there first. You get there first, and you order a non-alcoholic beer, and you tell the bartender, like, hey, don't just put this in a glass. Don't make a big deal about it. I don't want to have the conversation why I'm not drinking.
Right.
Train up your staff to be cognitive of that. Like, you don't have to put the bottle, like, do you want another non-alcoholic beer? It's like, and again, this could be us like Midwesterners, and because there is a stigma.
Sure.
Like, I do want like the flavor of a beer. I'm not going to meet my buddy to have a water.
Right.
You have no other options besides a non-alcoholic beer for me. That's what I would like. But I don't want a 20-minute conversation of why I'm not drinking a beer.
And again, let's even step one step back from that, do you have the option?
Do you have the option?
What I mean? So like imagine you go and the option isn't there. You know what I mean? So just, it doesn't take much to have a couple cases sitting somewhere in case somebody is in that situation. And then I also think about like the, what was the pizza chain that had it was the family ordering and everybody wanted pizza and wings, and the one daughter was like, I want a salad.
The food killer?
Yeah, whatever it was. The order killer, whatever it was. So imagine like you've got a group of people and one or two of them in the group, don't drink for whatever reasons those are. Have you made it a comfortable experience for them to be like, hey, let's go here because I know like it's no big deal. I'm not going to get shamed. They've got good selection. They've got, and they're doing that. So that's something to think about too. Like, are you unintentionally alienating potential patrons?
There, and a few things that we're going to put in the show notes are some of these statistics, because I think it's interesting to show your staff. This is a way to be kind of inclusive, because you really don't know how many people that are in programs. I mean, there is an organization called AA, but like, I don't know if they give out like armbands or something that say, hey, I'm in the program. Like you don't know who's in the program. So be aware of that as far as with your staff. Make your restaurant approachable. I'm trying to use all the buzzwords today.
Yeah, sure.
But these things do help you generate more revenue, and you're providing a higher level of hospitality.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. So how are you training your staff? So when you approach the table, during those hours where, alcohol is appropriate, like I don't enjoy like on a Tuesday afternoon and the waitress comes up for lunch and is, offering martinis and, cosmopolitans. Like, it's kind of like, okay, obviously it's Tuesday at noon and we're dressed like business people. Like I get it, but
different time.
If I was going to do that, I'm going to do it whether you offer it or not. Yeah. So, but when you're in those hours where it's appropriate.
When was this lunch? 1983?
Exactly. With my advanced age. But
that is a thing sometimes. It's like, hey, lady, we're not at the airport.
Right.
Like, oh, that's not appropriate?
Yeah. No, I think it always is. Okay. But how are you making it comfortable for somebody to start that conversation, to say like, hey, we have Coke and Pepsi products. We've got a great bourbon selection. We also have some unbelievable non-alcoholic spirits if you'd like to try that, and you just have it as part of your presentation so that it opens up somebody to be like, I'm good with water, or, so I think training the staff to approach the tables properly and have those options available as part of their greeting at the table.
I think this is also a little bit of a marketing thing on how you do pitch it. Non-alcoholic, I don't love. Mocktail, I hate. I think there is a way to say.
What do you think about sober curious?
No, I don't love that.
I don't. No. It sounds like.
I think you
don't have to have a problem with alcohol to avoid it.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so I feel like that stigma is something that you got to think how you're going to break through that.
Because I think of it more like, again, the bulletproof thing. And again, I'm not trying to invent like the lexicon for.
Sure. But this is important, though.
No, I know.
I mean, how you present it is important.
I'm not Joe Polizzi, like inventing content marketing. Like this thing did not exist before. Right. But I think it is, and that was a shout out to Joe. That wasn't a dig. That was like
absolute shout out.
He did invent the term.
Sure.
Content marketing. Right. What about like would you like a cognitive enhancer? So this and
that could prompt a question too.
What is that?
What is that?
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's these 3 drinks. They happen to have no alcohol in them, but they will give you focus in the afternoon. They will. Right. Almost like the smoothie shop does, because the smoothie shop isn't like pouring 3 vodkas in the top of it,
Right, and typically it's in the name. This is the gym bod. This is this is the focus factor. This is But I'm saying like you got to get you're not looking at a menu board.
Yeah. No, right.
But no, I agree with that. I think it's important to have those to have those different things ready to go and how you present it and be on the same page. It's just like anything else. Like, we could talk about any topic ad nauseum, but if you're not training your staff on how to properly present it, you're missing the boat a little bit. You know what I mean?
And back to the 5 things I learned when I was in Vegas: train your staff. I mean, they are the ultimate salespeople, and the ability for them to execute a sales program is a lot higher if they have training and they have a cheat sheet and they have some real tips. I mean, they're going to evolve over time, but the quality of server in Vegas, and I would say it's worth the trip out there to just see that. Go out and dine, see what the difference is, and then be, as you say, a customer in your own restaurant. Go back into your restaurant, and what is it like to be served?
Right. Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah. So this is a thing. There's a shift definitely going on with people either backing off of drinking or abstaining from drinking completely. Health and wellness, obviously mental capacity. We talked about all that. And there's a business case for it because people are out there doing it. So if you can execute it properly, you're going to, not alienate those people that want that experience without the alcohol. And then, how do you curate the menu? How do you train the staff? How do you do all those things? And I think if you put some thought into it, just like any topic we talk about, if you put some thought into this and apply it to your situation, this could be a big winner for you. And, there was one stat, I'm just searching for this one stat. It was in Philadelphia. There was a Four Seasons hotel in Philadelphia, doubled their non-alcoholic drink sales within a few months just by putting it on there. So when you say double their non-alcoholic drink sales,
that's incredible.
That's huge.
That includes soda,
exactly.
Includes everything.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So doing that just by adding a dedicated menu, so.
And this isn't cannibalizing your alcohol menu. Yeah. So there's no oh yeah, we doubled this, but we decreased our alcohol sales by whatever. Right. No way. And I would say the food cost of a cognitive enhancer, as I call them.
Okay. I like that.
They are probably equal or just as small as alcohol.
Yeah, no question. Especially if you're doing it right, you should be able to get the same price, make more profit. But at the end of the day, even if you're making the same profit, you're selling something that you wouldn't have sold before, other than a glass of water.
That's my point. Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to I'll put some links or some articles just to back up some of this data. But I'm sure if you're unless you live under a rock, this is a movement going on. Yeah. You see it all over the place on the internet, on social media, people, and just go to the grocery store. I mean, there's so many more options.
But there's no liquor license required for this. Yeah. So if you do have a fast casual concept and you do sell, waters and pop and what have you, I use pop and soda in the same episode. So I'm trying to be all inclusive to wherever you're located. Yeah. You can get more money and increase your ticket average by putting a $5 cognitive enhancer on the menu.
Yep. No question. Yep. So appreciate it, Brian. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, buddy.
And everybody check out the website, restauranttopia.com. Check out the show notes. Sign up for the newsletter. Got some great stuff going there. And appreciate you guys as always. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.